What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show, Week 17, Thursday Night Football. This is our final fantasy football hangout on Thursday night for the 2023 season. So thank you guys for hanging out with me this evening. We have a good game tonight. The Jets and the Browns. It might actually be good TV. It's probably going to be low scoring. The Browns did rule out Amari Cooper not too long ago. So it's unfortunate. I mean, if you have Amari Cooper, he helped get you to the fantasy championships, and he's just not going to be there. So unfortunately, no Cooper, which means more Njoku, more Elijah Moore, maybe some Cedric Tillman in there. We'll see how that goes. I do think if you have David Njoku, he's a must start tonight. But we'll hang out for the next half an hour or so. We'll answer any questions you guys have coming my way. And cheers to a good Thursday evening among good friends here. Let's see what we got brewing. So, welcome. Come on in, guys. I have to get my correct screen share going here. There we go. But David, good evening to David, my man. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you're doing well. I am also starting Breece Hall tonight in one of my leagues. So good luck with Breece Hall. We have AK-41, Devon Achane, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Herbert at running backs. For wide receivers, I have Pittman, Devontae, JSN, and Demarcus Robinson. My tight end is Trey McBride, but I picked up Musgrave flex. So assuming it's two running backs, two receivers, a tight end, and a flex, I think you're kind of locked into Alvin Kamara. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of interested in Clyde Edwards-Helaire at home against the Bengals. I think that could be a sneaky one. And this is, of course, assuming that Isaiah Pacheco will not be playing. But I do think Alvin Kamara is a must-start for you. You can see he's ranked as the third best player on ESPN for running backs in a full PPR league. At RB2, though, Devon Achane. Did Raheem Mostert practice today? I'm not quite sure. Let's actually look that up. I mean, I would assume Mostert's going to play. They've been really cautious with him in practice reports throughout the year. Back-to-back DNPs for Mostert. If Mostert doesn't play, you're going to play Devon Achane. And you know what? Even if Mostert plays, I think Devon Achane might be the guy that I want in my lineups right now. Mostert's all the way down here. Devon Achane is listed as questionable. He didn't play well. 7 for 24 against Dallas, 1 for 7 through the air. Against Baltimore, it's a very, very tough matchup. But you got Devon Achane limited today. Mostert DNP. I'll say this. If no Mostert, you got to play Achane. Otherwise, I think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, assuming Isaiah Pacheco is not going to go. So I'm going to say, one of those two guys at the running back spot. Again, I think Pacheco's not going to go. So we'll go Kamara and Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the running back spots. You got to play Michael Pittman Jr. Pittman basically was cleared to play today. I have good vibes for him. Full practice today, limited yesterday. He took the week off last weekend. I would say Pittman's in. He's your wide receiver 1 here. At wide receiver 2, you can go ahead and lock in Davante Adams. I know he has not been great this season, but we've seen his ceiling. He's got some nice upside in a game against the Colts here. Obviously, last weekend was a floor, but I would expect something more in the 12 to 14 point range. So those are the two receivers that I like. You're playing Trey McBride at tight end, and then the flex, it's going to come down to Achane versus probably JSN for me. I'm not going to play Musgrave in his first game back if he does play. I still don't know if he's going to play. Let's pull up those practice reports for the Packers. I do see Musgrave limited, so he's on track to play. I don't know if I want to trust him in this first game back. Tucker Kraft has been looking good. So to recap, I guess you're going Breece Hall. So Breece Hall and Kamara would be the top 2 running backs. Pittman and Davante Adams would be the top 2 receivers. Trey McBride, the flex or the tight end. And then at flex, it's probably Achane or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If Mostert plays, I'm going to play Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So yeah, man, I got Amari Coopered in a league or two. I play a lot of best ball leagues on DraftKings and Underdog and things like that. And if you didn't have Amari Cooper, you didn't have it. And now they're paying the price. They used up all their 50 whatever Cooper points last week. So no Amari Cooper tonight. Good evening to Harris. Hope you're doing well, bud. We got Nathan in the chat room. Good evening to you as well. Start one receiver and one flex. Rashee Rice, Stephon Diggs, Eckler, and Zeke. some tough questions. And I know Austin Eckler has not been great. Austin Eckler in the Chargers offense, that does scare me. I don't know if Keenan Allen's going to play. I don't know if that matters at all. But I think right now, you probably got to keep rolling out Rashee Rice. I think he's a player that I want to make sure gets in your lineup. Start one receiver and one flex. So between Rice and Diggs, Diggs has not been great. Let's pull up Diggs' numbers real quick. And this is ESPN's projections. I don't know where you play, but they got Rashee Rice as a top 5 receiver. So I do think he might be the play over Stephon Diggs. And Rashee Rice, the last 5 games, 11, 24, 18, 14, 24. He's locked in, man. 12 targets, 9, 10, 9, 10. I think I'm locked in with Rashee Rice over Stephon Diggs in the fantasy championship here. And we do have Stephon Diggs going up against the New England Patriots. His last game against them, 6 for 58 and a touchdown, which has been nice. But his last 3 games have been really, really bad, under 10 points in 3 straight games for full PPR. I'm leaning, it's crazy, but my head is saying start Rashee Rice at receiver and start Ezekiel Elliott at running back. We know Ramondre Stevenson's done for the year. I think locking myself into a handful of running back points makes a lot of sense. And Zeke's looked good. A 21, a 9.6, and this is your floor here, this 9.6 and a 27. I think I'm taking the risk with these ceiling games of a 20-point game and a floor of 9 to 12 points. So for me, Nathan, I think I'm going Rashee Rice and Ezekiel Elliott. If you were nervous about Zeke, I would go Diggs. So my rankings would be Rice, Zeke, Diggs, Eckler. And good evening to Harris. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Aaron Jones. So they've got 16 points projected for Pacheco here, which I don't think that's going to happen. And we know they already put Jerick McKinnon on IR. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might get the whole backfield here to himself. Back in week 15, he had 13 for 37 on the ground, 4 for 64 and a touchdown. His floor is probably this week 14 game, 11 for 39 and 2 for 29. So he does provide a really safe floor of 8 to 10 fantasy points. If he finds himself in the end zone, it's looking pretty good. I do think your ceiling probably lies with Aaron Jones, who I'm expecting. Aaron Jones looked good against the Panthers. And I know a lot of running backs look good against the Panthers, but 21 for 127, 1 for 8. If you get somewhere in the middle of this is your floor for Aaron Jones, 10 to 14 points. I would bet that Aaron Jones scores a touchdown this weekend. They're down Christian Watson. They're down Dontavian Wicks. And I think Luke Musgrave's not going to play. I'm leaning towards Aaron Jones having the higher floor and higher ceiling, but these are both great options. I'm gonna roll with Aaron Jones. I think he's the better back, the better talent. It's tough though. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is pretty safe points this weekend if no Isaiah Pacheco, but we're gonna go with Aaron Jones here in this question, Harris. And I do want to look up. We'll look up a couple more things here on the Underdog machine. I'm seeing Kenneth Walker not practicing today with an illness. That's one to monitor here, as we could be looking at Zach Charbonnet. DK Metcalf doesn't practice today either. Not sure what's up with that. The Seahawks have always been very conservative with their practice reports. They play on Sunday, though, so usually I don't see the Thursday reports in here. So tomorrow, big practice report day for the Seahawks. We'll see what they go here. And I want to note again, if you missed it, Amari Cooper's not active tonight. I do think it's David Njoku night. His targets here with Joe Flacco, 6, 8, 14, and 9. We might see double-digit targets for David Njoku tonight. So he's a must-play top 5 tight end this weekend. Najee Harris got a limited day in today with the Steelers. Kenny Pickett's limited, but they've already, came out and ruled Mason Rudolph as the starter. No Allen Lazard tonight, so I think Randall Cobb's going to be kind of the number 2 receiver. They do have a couple other guys, Xavier Gibson, Jason Brownlee, and maybe another name or 2 there. But anyways, Brian Robinson Jr. limited in practice today. Zay Flowers does not practice. So that one's interesting. Let's look at Baltimore's reports. So no Zay Flowers Wednesday or Thursday. That's a bit of a concern for me. I know they just played Monday Night Football, so they might just be very cautious with him. But they play on Sunday. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, I don't think he's going to play. So we're going to have to be wary of Zay Flowers here. Otherwise, everything else looks good for fantasy. We'll keep an eye on Zay. Cortland Sutton, I would assume he's not going to play. They've already put in Jared Stidham as the quarterback here. You're looking at Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims as the top 2 receivers, maybe Brandon Johnson as their number 3 receiver here. Not looking great for Denver's offense. But Keenan Allen does not practice again today. I don't have any confidence in him being able to go this weekend, which is a bit of a concern. I think he might be shelved for the season. We're not really quite sure what's going on here. The Chargers season has kind of swirled down the drain. Jordan Addison limited in practice today. That's a bit of a surprise because I thought it was like a high ankle sprain, but the fact that he's limited practice today gives him a chance to go. I don't think I'm comfortable playing him. The Vikings did decide to go to Jaren Hall as their starting quarterback in this one. So not sure what we're going to get. We did get a nice quarter or so from Jaren Hall when he played Atlanta back earlier in the season. But I think I'm not excited about Addison. He's a very boom bust, risky wide receiver 3. Jaden Reed limited in practice again today. I think he's on track to play. I don't expect Christian Watson to play for the Packers. I don't expect Marquise Brown to play for the Cardinals. Hey, Jamar Chase was limited today. He's got a chance to play. I don't think he's going to play. It sounds like week 18 is more of his desired schedule to play. So we'll keep an eye on Jamar Chase. Did not practice yesterday, but limited today. So he's trending in the right direction. Tomorrow, we should get information on Jamar Chase. Trevor Lawrence didn't officially practice today. He was expected to be limited, and the fact that he didn't practice today pretty much to me means that he's not going to play this Sunday. I would expect CJ Beathard to play. It makes me nervous to play my Jags. I think Calvin Ridley's a risky flex play. I think Evan Ingram's okay as a tight end play if you need one. And you're going to continue to play Travis Etienne, who would get the bulk of the workload here for the Jags. Rico Dowdle already listed as out. It's a tough matchup for Tony Pollard, but I think you got to play him. No Josh Jacobs today, so it might be another Zamir White weekend. Tomorrow, again, it's Friday tomorrow. We're going to get all the practice reports that we need tomorrow. So if you're waiting for Josh Jacobs news, hopefully tomorrow he could play. I thought he was going to play back in week 16, but we'll have to wait and see on tomorrow. There's Zach Moss practicing limited today. Not sure if he plays, not sure if it matters. We're not using him in fantasy. It's all Jonathan Taylor. Pittman, I think Pittman's in. CJ Stroud is in. And then this Bears one's tough because Khalil Herbert looked so good last weekend. Like he was back as the lead dog. Roschon Johnson's still out there catching passes. And then if they're going to have Deonta Foreman up, that means they got 3 running backs. It's going to feel like playing whack-a-mole at the running back position there. I personally don't know who to recommend to start from the Bears backfield. And the tough part about that is if we go to the fantasy points allowed numbers here, the Falcons have been one of the better running back teams all season. They finally allowed a rushing touchdown last week, though, to Jonathan Taylor. So maybe that trend, continues a little bit. But the Falcons, they're the 3rd best team against running back. They only allow about 17 points per game into the position. If that's divided 3 ways, I'm a little bit nervous about the Bears running backs in this one. There's the Jaren Hall news. I don't expect Jalen Waddle to play this weekend. So you're playing Tyreek, Tua. I got a couple of Cedric Wilson, questions, but I don't really know if I feel comfortable with Cedric Wilson in my lineup this weekend. There's Isaiah Pacheco not practicing with shoulder and concussion injuries. I don't expect him to play in this one. And then that should be up to date on everything because now we're into Wednesday. So there's your full lowdown on the practice reports for week 17. And hey, any other questions you guys got, please fire them up. I have a question for you guys in the chat room. So I have, believe it or not, I'm in the fantasy championship with this team here. It's a super flex team. I have Derek Carr and Jordan Love at my QBs. My running backs are Gibbs and Kieran Williams. I like that. My top 2 receivers are DJ Moore and Chris Godwin. I got Sam Laporta at tight end, and we start 3 flexes. Now, are you guys interested in Elijah Moore tonight with no Amari Cooper? Again, it's a really tough matchup, but he is playing his former team, so I kind of like the revenge narrative. Normally, I would start Jalen Waddle or something else. But am I starting Elijah Moore over Rashid Shaheed, James Conner, or Gus Edwards? That's my question for you guys. So good evening to Charlene. The question of my hour is Elijah Moore over Gus Edwards, James Conner, Rashid Shaheed? I don't know. I'm surprised this team's in the championship. It's not a good team, but hey, that's how fantasy football works sometimes. It's just the way the ball bounces. But I'm actually open to playing Elijah Moore tonight. I'm going to look up at the DraftKings lines and see what we got going on here. I really like David Njoku tonight, though. So please make sure you guys have David Njoku in there. I think there's a chance the Jets cover the 7. That seems to be a little bit too much. I know they're going to be pesky and Breece Hall's cooking, so I think he could be in for a good day. But they're giving Elijah Moore 43.5 yards. If I scroll on down here to the receptions, they're going to give him. They're taking the over on 3.5. So basically, I'm getting about 8 points floor for Elijah Moore. Say he gets 4 for 43, something like that. I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat room? But interesting game tonight. I do like Elijah Moore to hit his 3.5 over prop here, as most people are with the -150. And we'll see what else happens. But keep the questions coming in, guys. Tomorrow night, I will be uploading my start sit week 17 preview. So I'll go over all the games and I'll get all my numbers and stuff in there for you guys. So I'll cover all my charts, get you guys ready for Saturday and Sunday football. Harris is asking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Joseph Mixon. I kind of trust Joe Mixon a little bit more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think Joe Mixon's the better back, and I fully expect him to continue to getting the carries. It's just a matter of, does that game get out of hand? Last week we saw the Steelers kind of jump on the Bengals' throats, and they just weren't able to run the ball. But in terms of fantasy points allowed, the Chiefs are decent. They rank 13th against running back, giving up about 20 points per game. Maybe Mixon gets 13 to 15 fantasy points with the touchdown. Obviously, that would be nice. But the Bengals are an average matchup too. They're giving up about 21, but man, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets that backfield all to himself, I'm open to that. No Jerick McKinnon to steal passes, no Isaiah Pacheco to steal any rushing volume. I think I'm going to go Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this one. I'll take the team that I think is going to win. Madison or Gainwell. I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell here in this one. It's a game where we expect the Eagles to move the ball on offense. The Cardinals are allowing the most fantasy points per game to the running back position. Madison, in his first game back last week, he only got 2 carries. It seems like they're pretty convinced that Ty Chandler is the running back 1 going forward. So I'm nervous about getting a 0 or like a 1-point game from Madison. Whereas Gainwell, he looked good last week. I think there's room for, if that game's kind of a blowout in the second half, maybe Gainwell gets some more work. I think I'm going Kenny G here. Joe Mixon or David Montgomery. And that's a tough one because Montgomery, we know they're playing the Cowboys. It's in Dallas. That should be a high-scoring game. Maybe that's more Gibbs work in this one. I think I'm going to lean with David Montgomery just because he's got a really safe floor. I think there's only been 1 game where he's been healthy and he hasn't scored a touchdown. I would expect 3 or 4 touchdowns to be scored on both sides of the ball in this one. I'm going to go David Montgomery just because I think he's got a higher floor. And I know Mixon's been playing well, but I'm going to lean David Montgomery just a little bit. Slightly nervous about the Bengals traveling to Kansas City. Kansas City's going to be pissed off after that embarrassing game against the Raiders. So I'm going to lean Montgomery here. Godwin or Jaden Reed, non-PPR. I don't think Dontavian Wicks or Christian Watson are going to play. So I think you're going to probably see Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed be the top 2 receivers. But I mean, I don't know if I think I'm going to go with Godwin. He's the hot hand right now. I mean, he lit up the Saints back in week 4, and the Saints do have a tendency to allow wide receiver points to the slot position. That's where Chris Godwin has been playing more often lately. He's seen 10, 12, 11 targets in his last 3 games. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin. I think he's got the higher floor, and he's playing his best ball of the season right now. And yeah, Thursday night games are scary. If I go back to the popular picks here, there's only 33.5 points scored in this game. That's maybe a 20 to 13 type game, 20 to 16, 23 to 17, something in that range. I think we're going to see some, maybe 2 touchdowns for the Browns, maybe one touchdown for the Jets. We'll see. Can we get a Heineke update? I don't think there was anything that I was worried about. Heineke limited the last 2 days. I haven't heard any rumblings about Desmond Ridder needed to start. I think Heineke's going to be fine. I think if you're playing him in Superflex leagues, I'm okay with it. Elijah Moore or Curtis Samuel, full PPR. So we're getting Jacoby Brissett this weekend, which I think is kind of refreshing. I do have Curtis Samuel here projected for 11.5 fantasy points. Not a great game last week. He did get 6 targets, though, 1 for 16. I think you're probably looking at Elijah Moore. Again, we pulled up Elijah Moore's line, and he was given people are taking the over 3.5 receptions and giving him about 43.5 yards. So I think I'm going to take the Elijah Moore game tonight. I know it's not a great matchup, but Elijah Moore is not really an outside receiver. He's going to be primarily used in the slot in this one. We might see Cedric Tillman matched up against Sauce Gardner often. It's a tough matchup for both teams. I'm going to go Elijah Moore here. I'm assuming that's Parker Washington. And if it's Parker Washington, I'm a little bit more nervous about that because it's probably CJ Beathard in this one. And Jameson Williams in a game where it's going to be high scoring against the Cowboys. He's seen 6 and 7 targets in his last 2 games. He's starting to put some games together here. So I like that from Jameson Williams. I'm going to go Jamo Williams here. And yeah, that Cowboys game, I believe it's got the most points projected. It's got 52 points in it. So if there's going to be a touchdown to be found randomly from Jameson Williams, I think it would be this game. So I'm going to go Jameson Williams here over Parker Washington for the Jags. And yeah, it just doesn't seem like Trevor Lawrence is going to play, back-to-back DNPs. He's got a shoulder, an AC joint going on. I know he's got the ankle thing that's still sore. He's had a concussion lately. Probably not going to see Trevor Lawrence this game, so I'm going to go Jameson Williams. And Charlene likes the Shaheed, and I also like Rashid Shaheed quite a bit. He didn't play great in that game earlier in the year. He did go 3 for 33, but I believe Michael Thomas was healthy. So to me, I'm trying to risk it for the biscuit. I'm hoping for a big pop-off play for a touchdown or something like that. So I'm going to keep Rashid Shaheed in my lineup here. But this Gus Edwards one's interesting. Miami's been pretty good against the run. They haven't a lot of touchdowns since Tennessee. And before that, look at 0-0. The 2 touchdowns against Tennessee, 0-0-0-0-0. They have not been allowing a lot of fantasy points at the running back position. I'm leaning towards playing Elijah Moore over Gus Bus Edwards tonight. So I'm a little bit scared to do it. Gus Edwards, yeah, he's going to get double-digit touches, 14 and 13 points. But if he doesn't score a touchdown, man, I'm looking at that 4 to 8 point range, which makes me a little bit nervous. And I know Elijah Moore's been hit or miss this year, but I think the targets will be there tonight. Excuse me. I think this one's easy for me. I'm going to go Chico Okonkwo in this one, Harris. Let's pull up Okonkwo's numbers. And I almost wish for fantasy, I almost wish it was Ryan Tannehill in this one, but we're not quite sure yet. I'll pull up the Tennessee reports here in a second. Let's go look and see what Will Levis was up to today. Will Levis was full practice back-to-back days. I think Will Levis is going to play this weekend. But back to the tight end question, Okonkwo or Freiermuth. Chico Okonkwo had a great game last weekend, 6 for 63 and a touchdown. He's been very consistent over his last 5 games. You see 18, 6, 9, 9, 8. I think you hope for the 7 to 10 fantasy points out of Okonkwo with Freiermuth. I mean, for him not to get a catch last weekend's concerning. 4, 6, 5. I think I'm just following into the numbers with Okonkwo and hoping for at least 7 to 10 points. Gibson or Khalil Herbert full PPR. If you told me that Brian Robinson's not going to play, I will go with Gibson. They just put the rookie running back Chris Rodriguez on IR today, so he's not going to be in there. So it's going to be maybe a split between B-Rob and Gibson. Honestly, I expect Gibson to be out there a lot because we think the 49ers are going to be able to move the ball and put up points against this Commanders team. I'm having trouble trusting the Bears running backs with Deonta Foreman healthy, Roschon Johnson healthy, and Khalil Herbert. I think, and because it's full PPR, I think I'm going with Gibson here. And hey, Gibson did get a rushing touchdown last week, so maybe he's in some better graces here with the coaching staff. But the Browns need to win to go to the playoffs. I like the Browns, man. I think the Browns are a fun team. They're going to be a tough team to play in the first round of the playoffs, and Joe Flacco's dealing right now. I think I'm going to play Elijah Moore tonight. Ray Gamer, good evening, man. Thank you for hanging out. Pick 2 in standard. Brees versus the Browns, Jayden Reed versus the Vikings, Cooks versus the Lions, Demarcus Robinson versus the Giants, or Zamir White against the Colts. We're going to lock in Brees Hall as the one that we feel the most comfortable with. You know, he had the amazing game last weekend where he ripped off a couple touchdowns and had some big plays. I know it's a tough matchup, but I'm going to roll Brees Hall tonight. He's a playmaker. And then if Josh Jacobs isn't playing, I want to play Zamir White. Zamir White's been steady. Let me pull up Zamir. He didn't have a great game last week, but 22 for 145. He didn't score a touchdown, but he's still like they trust him to run the ball. So if no Josh Jacobs, I'm playing Zamir White. So we're gonna go Brees and Zamir. If Josh Jacobs does play, I think I'm gonna go Jayden Reed against the Vikings here, Ray. Everett versus the Broncos on the road. Tucker Kraft versus Vikings. Chico Conquo versus Texans on the road, or Juwan Johnson versus Buccaneers. I'm struggling to trust Juwan Johnson. He's been kind of hit or miss. I don't know if I want to rely on him. I do think I'm probably playing Gerald Everett. Broncos allowed the most fantasy points to the tight end position. They've allowed 10 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards, 90 catches. It's a great matchup for Gerald Everett. And honestly, Everett's been pretty productive over the last couple games here. 8 targets in 3 straight games, 8, 9, and 11 fantasy points. And that's all without scoring a touchdown. And the Broncos do allow the most touchdowns to the position here. So I'm leaning towards Everett, he's been a tight end streamer like for the last 5 games. So I'm thinking it's Gerald Everett for me. There's a small chance that Luke Musgrave plays in this one, so I'm not quite sure there. I like Chico Conquo, but I like him more with Ryan Tannehill, and it looks like Will Levis is going to play. So to me, I would rank them as Everett, Kraft, Okonkwo, and Johnson. We're starting Hurts, Olave, Eckler, Monty, Aubrey, Browns D. Just needed to know my wide receiver 2 and tight end. Wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 2. If these are your questions for wide receiver 2, I'm going to go Jayden Reed. And at flex, that's probably where I would play Zamir White. And then tight end, yeah, we'll go with Gerald Everett. So I hope that helps, Ray. I hope I got that all figured out for you. Brian Robinson or Jaylen Warren? I'm going to go Jaylen Warren here. I don't trust Brian Robinson in his first game back from a hamstring injury. It's a good matchup for Jaylen Warren. The Steelers, they're going to get the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks rank pretty bad against running backs. And honestly, Warren's been the better back all season long. Back-to-back 10, 11-point games, 8-point games. I think you just take the 8 to 12 points here with Jaylen Warren. Shaheed or Dalton Schultz? I'm going Rashid Shaheed, man. Shaheed looked great last week on Thursday Night Football. He came out and got 9 targets, 5 for 70 and a touchdown. Even if you take that touchdown away, he still puts up decent, amount of points. Tampa Bay's allowed a lot of receiving numbers too. They're one of the worst teams guarding the position here. You can see they rank 29th. I'm going Shaheed, and the reason I don't like Dalton Schultz is the Titans. The number 1 team against tight end. I think you're praying for a touchdown here. I'm going to go with Rashid Shaheed and play for the ceiling. Would you risk White or play Hall tonight? Would you risk White or play Hall tonight? I think I'm going to lock in Brees Hall tonight. The dude looked so good last week. I would feel really bad if he went off on your bench for another 20 fantasy points. Sometimes when a player gets hot, I want to continue to lean into that, and I think last week he did. Trevor Siemian threw him the ball a lot as a receiver. I think Brees Hall's probably their best offensive weapon tonight. So I'm going to play Brees Hall, and we'll stick Zamir White in the flex when – I don't know if Josh Jacobs is going to play. I'm assuming not. He hasn't practiced all week. See if I can find that. Back-to-back DNPs. We should have seen him practice by now. So I would be shocked if Zamir White isn't the starting running back this weekend. I hope more scores like Amari scores last week. Hey, I would love that. We're gonna do it right now. I'm gonna move Gus Edwards out. We'll move Elijah Moore in. and I'm going to move him up to my starting receiver spot just in case I need flexibility. So, all right, guys, we're rolling Elijah Moore out tonight. Since I'm playing Monty and Eckler for sure, hey, no problem, man. I appreciate it. So you're looking at not playing Zamir White. Okay. I mean, I like the matchup for Monty and Eckler. I think I would rank them ahead of Zamir White if that does come down to it. And who knows? Maybe tomorrow, maybe we see Josh Jacobs playing. We don't have to worry about Zamir White. Probably going to leave Zamir White out. I might be open to leaving Austin Eckler on the bench. Let me look at Eckler's numbers. I mean, Eckler's just been 7.8, 11.6. I don't know if I see the upside here. You might be able to convince me to play Zamir White over Austin Eckler. I don't know what you guys think in the chat room, but I might be there. I think I might rank them as Breece, Monty, Zamir, Eckler. But Ray, you can always reach out to me. I'm going to be uploading a video tomorrow. You can always reach me on Twitter, TikTok, or YouTube, and we can reassess tomorrow. And hey, good luck tonight, everybody. Hopefully, you guys get what you need. I'm starting Breece Hall in championship tonight. I guess I'm starting Elijah Moore, and I do have David Njoku going in another championship tonight. So good luck to everybody tonight. Hopefully, you get you the points that you need, or not. You know, if you're playing against some of these guys, hopefully they stink. Broncos or Seahawks defense. I will be at the Seattle game. I mean, I don't really trust the Jags to play well if no Trevor Lawrence. But Seahawks defense just has not been great, you know, the last month or so. I'm slightly concerned with the Seahawks defense. Man, but you're going to be at the game. I'll tell you what, if no Trevor Lawrence, I'll say you can start the Seahawks defense. But personally, I'm starting the Broncos defense in a league. And I think I would lean the Broncos either way because I think the Broncos are a little bit better defensively. So I'm going to say Broncos. But if you're feeling, trust your gut. You know, I don't want to be the fantasy guy on YouTube that tells you like you have to play the thing. You know, I want you guys to trust yourself, trust your instincts. If you feel good about something, play it. Even if I say something else. So I'm going to play the Broncos though. But I think the Seahawks could be good if no Trevor Lawrence. And hey, good luck to everybody tonight. I'm going to get out of here for the evening. Hopefully everybody has a good night, or whoever they're playing has a bad night. I'm not sure what you need, but hopefully you get it. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. I'll upload the video, and then Sunday morning we'll hang out live together, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. We'll hang out and go over all the final news that you guys need. So take it easy. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Peace.